what we've got here is a line segment with its endpoints, and we want to find the midpoint, right? Find the midpoint of the segment joining this point to this point. I'm going to start by plotting these. Now, you don't have to do this. There's a formula for it. You just go straight to the formula, plug in, and compute. But I just like to see what's happening. So I'm going to plot this point. To the right 1, up 7. All right, I'll do it over here on my graph. To the right 1, up 7. That puts me right here. That's the point 1, 7. And then negative 7, negative 7. Negative 7, to the left 7, down 7. All right, so to the left 7, down 7, I think puts us right here. All right, so that's negative 7, negative 7. And I've got this line segment, and I want to know what is the midpoint. Let's get the midpoint of this. Here's the formula for the midpoint. The midpoint is, now it's a point, so it's got an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate. Now here's the x-coordinate. Here's what you do. You add the two x values together, and then you divide it by 2, right? That's just like finding the average. You add the two together, find the average. Then, same thing for the y's. y1 plus y2, find the average of those y's. So according to the formula, I am going to write, all right, at this point here, the first x and the second x, add them together. Add the first x and the second x. Now the first x is a 1, the second x is a negative 7, so this is going to be 1 plus negative 7 over 2, comma, and then same for the y's. First y plus the second y, so first y I see is a 7 plus the second y, a negative 7. So this is going to be 7 plus negative 7. Going to get a 0 out of that. That's nice. All right, so where are we now? We are now at 1 minus 7 over 2 and 7 minus 7 over 2. This will give us negative 6 over 2 and 0 over 2. So that's telling us that the midpoint should be here at negative 3 and 0. Okay, does it even look close? Let's see. If I follow this up, negative 3 to the left 3, that would be here in 0. Okay, so, well, my line bends a little bit, but that's where the midpoint should be, right here. Negative 3 and 0. My picture just misses it a little bit. Now we want to find the midpoint between this point here and this point here. Now I'm not going to try to graph it because I don't like to try to graph with decimals. All right, so this is going to be my first x, my first y, my second x, my second y. All right, and I have a formula for the midpoint. The midpoint is this point right here. Here's how you get it. You add the two x values together, divide by 2, right? You're finding the average. And then you do the same thing with the y's. You add those two together, divide by 2. Let's put our numbers in, see where it takes us. So it's going to be this point here. First x is 5.1 plus the second x, which is 3.8, all over 2. And the y's, the first y is negative 3.8. Add it to, oh, they've just mixed these numbers up here, that's all. A negative 5.1 all over 2. All right, let's add these together. So this will give us, now 5.1 and 3.8 is going to be 8.9 over 2. And negative, well, look at this. This is just same numbers, right? Negative 3.8 plus negative 5.1, same numerical, same absolute value. So just, we're going to add them together to get a negative. Negative 8.9 over 2. So divide these by 2, all right, and we are going to get the midpoint is at negative, I'm going to decimal this, 4.45. No, this is positive, right? This is a positive one here. And this is the negative one over here. Negative 4.45. All right, that's what I'm going to claim as the midpoint. We want to find the midpoint here, and we've got some fractions. I'm going to write the midpoint formula. That's a good place to start. So to get the midpoint, it's a point, so put it in parentheses. Add the two x's together. Divide by 2 to get the average. Add the two y's together. Divide by 2 to get that average. Let's do it. So the midpoint should be at, now the first x plus the second x. All right, I'm just going to do this now. This is going to be 3/7 plus negative 1/2 over 2. And do it for the y's. Okay, first y plus the second y. So for the y's, it's going to be negative 4/3 plus second y, 1/2, all over 2. Let's work with these well, a little bit here. How about doing this? We'll get 3/7 minus 1/2 all over 2. And this one is going to be negative 4/3 plus 1/2 all over 2. Okay, I'm going to show you a little arithmetic trick here. Look at these denominators. We don't like to work with them. Let's get rid of them. What are they? 7, 2, 3, and 2. All right, so I got 7, 2, and 3. Can you think? All right, now right over here. Just the 7 and the 2. What's the smallest number that 7 and 2 go into? It's 14. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom. I'm going to write it here. Here's what I'm actually doing. 3/7 minus 1/2, that's a 7, over 2. I'm going to multiply it by 1. All right, but the 1 that I'm going to use is going to be 14 over 14. Now that 14, that's the smallest number that 7 and 2 divide into. Okay? Now, what about over here? Let's look at this one. I got 3 and 2. Smallest number that 3 and 2 divide into is 6. So I'm going to have negative 4 over 3 plus 1 over 2, all over 2, times. Now, if I just multiply by 1, I'm not changing the value. But the 1 that I'm going to use is 6. Now, look what happens. I'm going to multiply here. So I multiply, and I multiply, and I multiply. So the midpoint is going to be, now, what do you get here? It's 3 over 7 times 14. I'll write every step here. It's 3 over 7 times 14 minus 1 over 2 times 14 all over 2 times 14, right? All I'm doing is this. I'm multiplying. I look up at this fraction. Too many fractions. Get rid of the denominators. What's the least common multiple? The smallest number that the denominators divide into is 14. So I end up just multiplying every fraction, or all parts by 14. Times 14, times 14, times 14. There it is. Right here it is. 4 times 14, times 14, times 14. And the same for the next one. I'm going to multiply by 6. So multiply the 6, multiply by 6, multiply by 6. So you just multiply every single number there by 6. So it looks like this. Negative 4 over 3 times 6 plus 1 over 2 times 6 all over 2 times 6. Now, all the fractions should cancel out. So what are we left with? We are left with, now look what happens here. 7 into 14. Okay, 7 will go into 14 2 times. 3 times 2 is 6. So now I get 6 over, well, I'm not done here. So I get 6, and then what? This one over here. 2 will go into 14 7 times. So I get 1 times 7, which is 7. All right, so I get a 7 here. So it's 6 minus 7 all over 28, right? 2 times 14. And then over here, 3 will go into 6 twice, so I get negative 4 times 2. That's negative 8. And then 2 will go into 6 3 times, so I get 1 times 3, which is 3. So plus 3, all over 2 times 6, which is 12. Okay, now we're almost there. 6 minus 7 is negative 1 over 28, and Negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5 over 12. There we go, and I'm going to claim that that is the midpoint.